I'm Ballast. She's Lashing. And this is Between the Bulkheads with Parlay 8.
Okay.
So here we are.
So it is
on the way to Yorktown.
April 26th. We're on the way to Yorktown. Yorktown Pirate Invasion. Okay, so $16.99 slop shop contents. This is actually kind of interesting because the items that they're listing on here are a lot what we keep talking about with the historical accuracy stuff. They had flannel waistcoats.
Flannel?
Yeah. And I don't know if this is just the interpretation and how they wrote it, but it's FFLANNELL.
I think that's a misprint. They might be talking about checked because they used small checked shirts.
Yeah, yep, those were.
They might consider that flannel.
So it's really weird. Item 1. They call them different items, but there's a bunch of different stuff on here, and they're just listings. So this is the inventory of Joseph Haycock slop shop.
So where's this coming from?
Joseph Haycock slop shop.
Okay.
It came off of the authentic Living History page from John Fox.
Ed Fox.
Canvas bed, coarse tick bed, feather bed, quilts, watch gown, small gown, large gown, canvas frocks, Frokes, canvas breeches, striped tick, breeched lined, boys, men's striped tick breeches lined, canvas breeches lined, men's tick breeches with buttons, boys tick breeches.
So for those of us who don't know, what is ticked?
Tick is a type of cotton. It's how it is woven. It is a little bit more coarser, and they use it a lot. It's a utilitarian fabric, and they use it a lot for pillowcases and mattresses, and they still use it in mattresses today.
Oh yeah,
and outside.
And it still looks basically the same.
Yep. Some of the more of the modern day ticking cloth, what we call ticking cloth, is actually just straight cotton, and it's striped like it was with the ticking. A lot of the slops and breeches we do with all the different colors, you can call it ticking, but the fabric isn't as heavy duty. So more traditional would be a heavier duty that you would use on like a sleep sack or something like that. Pillowcases, yep. So that would be those. And that's a lot of what this is. Men's cotton rolling drawers. The flannel waistcoats caught my attention. Fustaine waistcoat. Kersey is another material. It's interesting. Kersey is used a lot as an interlining for corsets or stays.
So what type of material is it?
It's like buckham. I'm trying to think how to explain it.
Is it a cotton?
It's like a coarse cotton that is I can't think of the
like a canvas type.
What is a burlap bag? Burlap.
Oh, it's that coarse.
It's that. Yeah, it's heavy duty like that, but it's not as coarse as burlap. It's a little bit more finer, but it reminds me of burlap. But you can't find it anymore. It's not really. Specialty shops do make it and sell it, but it's not really common nowadays. I just use canvas whenever it calls for Kersey because canvas is pretty stout, and I'll use like a 10 ounce or something, maybe a little bit heavier canvas. Yarn stockings, open knee breeches, white cotton waistcoats. I guess that's part of their uniform.
Yeah, it would have been standard clothing for a sailor, basically. I mean, in the GOP, they didn't have uniforms, so even the Royal Navy didn't have uniforms yet. So they wouldn't have they would have been tried to be as standard as possible, but there was no uniform yet. So they probably all wore different colored shirts and different ticking or whatever until the Royal Navy actually decided they wanted to do uniforms.
4 stripe and 1 silk neck cloths, 9 stripe caps, 10 blue caps, 10 remnants of blue and red for quantity containing 113 yards. Jeez, that's a lot of fabric. I mean, I buy 20 yards at a time with some of my fabric. I do not buy anything.
It's a lot of crew members.
Yeah. 32 pair of gloves, 26 pair of socks, 2 pair of worsted hose, remnants of linen, 47 money bags. So that's all this was just kind of reading through canvas frocks, canvas breeches, fine quilt. So that is a lot of what we already knew, I think. I knew, you knew, did you know?
Pretty much.
This one is called A Sailor's Possessions from the website Colony Ships and Pirates Concerning History in the Atlantic World 1680-1740. So this is right along our time period. Posted July 7, 2015 under Pirate History, Ship Maritime History. So obviously the sea chest is a common piece of material culture seen among stereotypes of pirates and sailors in the age of sail. Many people imagine a variety of items locked away within these chests from fascinating tools of seafaring trades, like bow.
Yeah, Bo's chest was
a good find. I don't know if you heard me, us on the phone talking about her getting her cannon ready, and the only thing she didn't have was a prick. And she opened up her sea chest, and she had 3 of them in there. I was like, is there like a magic bottom to that thing?
I know, right? Is there anything that's
there's been gun parts, there was buttons, there was flints in there. Yeah, that thing, it's like the magic chest box. It's not the magic school bus. It's a gift that keeps on giving. We're talking about Billy Bones. Let's get to something that is more context, such as these are typical by standards of the modern stereotype of sailors and pirates in the Voyage pirate scene. When compared to historical record, with the exception of treasure items, how accurate? They're talking about Treasure Island's depiction. What possessions a sailor owned depended on their financial circumstances, voyage length, and destinations. Sailors fallen on hard times, frivolous spenders, or mariners forced into the British Royal Navy might own nothing more than the clothes on their back.
Yep.
And this is why we're pirates.
Own nothing and like it.
These desperate cases did not apply to all sailors, with many finding ways to afford supplies ahead of voyages. Clothing sat high on the list of essential supplies. Longer voyages required more clothes. Expedition to cold climates, warmer garments. Clothing did not last long at sea. It only took a matter of months for garments to deteriorate into rags because of wear from use in the harsh maritime environment. So that is a lot of the voyages, I think, and the little expeditions that we've read about, like Morgan, they would be a month or 2 at a time. I don't think any of them were ever really long.
No, not unless they're exploring, which pirates really didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, once you became a pirate, you can spend a decent amount of time on land. You know, it depends on how much money you have, basically, because they were always looking for the next way to make money and next.
Especially if they
ships going out,
pissed it away like they did.
How many? That's why they always wanted their captain to be out on the lookout to capture ships, because that's how they made their money.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have money, they weren't staying on land long. You got to go back out to sea and get some money.
So it did not take long for mariners to pleat some garments such as shoes and shirts. And I would imagine those would be. My other shoe didn't make it, right? I put it on top of your tobacco box. So
yes.
My shoes are fixed. Yay! sometime in 2020, I think. End of 2020 is when we bought my pair of shoes. And then obviously think about I think I got them end of 2020, early 2021, because I was still wearing my heeled shoes for Waxhaw, and that was October 2020. But okay, so 2021, 22, 23, 3 seasons of wearing those, and they're worn out as they are. And which makes sense, because you had your shoes about a year too sooner, because we bought yours in 19.
Well, it might have been worn out for
2 years, which the 3-year time frame. So
that makes sense then, I guess.
Yeah, and if you think about the way we're just wearing them.
Yeah, now think about a sailor wearing them, like, as much as they would have worn them.
Yeah.
They would have lasted maybe a year, a season at sea.
Yeah.
And then depending on the weather, because cold weather and going from cold to hot and whatever they were doing. The seawater, none of that is good.
On land, shirts and footwear usually wore out after 6 months of heavy use. The saltiness, dampness, and potential humid air at sea contributed to quicker periods of deterioration. Outer garments, especially those of wool, fared a little better with lifespans of 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, it's because wool's waterproof, naturally waterproof.
We're not wearing wool in the summer.
No.
Detailed description of garments sailors wore in this period could fill an entire book. For those fortunate enough to have funds, credit, and time before a voyage, a mariner might spend 2 pounds or more on clothes. And it took sailors over a month to make the sum of money when earning wages at sea.
Just to get enough for one outfit.
I guess that's what it's doing. It took common sailors over a month to make the sum of money when earning wages at sea. So 2 pounds for a common sailor. We're not talking about pirates, obviously. In 1710, sailor John Creamer, with the help of a friend's wife, purchased shirts, stockings, handkerchiefs with a chest, which she did and suitable for me for 2 years for 40 shillings. And I don't know
how much a shilling is
compared to a pound. I don't know if shillings is.
No idea.
I don't know either. Let's Google it real quick.
Well, make sure you Google it in 18th century.
Well, no, I'm just going to do shillings compared to pound, which is still the same today. That ratio is still the same. Shillings in a pound. There's 20 shillings in a pound. So 40 shillings is 2 pounds. Okay. Which is what they were just saying. So, and the answer, that is a whole outfit. So shirts, stockings, handkerchiefs, 40 shillings, so 2 pounds. Okay. Sailors also obtain clothing and supplies while on voyages. Service at sea posed the threat of debt in addition to the dangers of drowning or battle. If mariner did not possess enough clothes, both the Navy and merchant services featured pursers and ship owners willing to sell sailors' clothing at a steep cost.
Yeah, well, they're jacking it up so they can make money too.
So if it's 2 pounds, 40 shillings for a full outfit, we charge double. So what is the equivalent? Okay. Next question. What is the equivalent of 2 pounds to British pounds from 1710 to today? Pounds. Watch that card. Alright. Source year 1710. Target year 2024. Enter old value in pounds. 2. Convert. $415.
Dang. So about equivalent to what you would spend now.
On a legit
It's
outfit.
funny how like when you look up how much something was like that it equates out to the same thing it is today. You know what I mean?
Yes, because
in other words, back then you were spending $400 on an outfit, just like you're spending $400 on an outfit now.
yeah,
It may not have, it's only 2 pounds, but that equals $400 now.
okay, because a pair of slops is 120. Our cotton shirts are 60, so that's 180 right there. And Westgates start at 160, depending on if you want to get, that's just basic cotton. Or honestly 200 if we're going full linen, so we'll just go for 2 for an easy number. So what I say, 180, so that's 380 right there for 3 things. And then you throw in socks, so which is another 10, 20, so there's your 400.
Mm-hmm.
And then shoes, which is another 100, it's about 5. And that wasn't even what's described in here. It's handkerchiefs.
They're not.
Yeah.
What they're describing in that paper doesn't include shoes.
No, it doesn't.
It's just clothing.
So that is a very interesting dynamic to think about it. What a sailor was spending back then in today's monetary value is what
It's the same.
Yeah. See? We're not expensive.
And that's just basic clothing. It's nothing special. It's just,
it's because
cotton or linen and
material back in the 18th century. Material was expensive, but labor was cheap. Nowadays, it's flipped. You can get cheaper materials, but the labor is more expensive. Our labor cost. I mean, what we charge minimum wage, which is way undercutting what our value is in the craft that we have learned. So,
yeah, see, the big difference between then and now is then this was normal clothing. Now, buying a sailor's outfit or a pirating outfit is not normal clothing.
Well, imagine if
it's a craft.
I know, but imagine if we had to spend that much nowadays for a pair of jeans and a t-shirt.
Well, you could.
Oh yeah.
If you wanted to, you easily could.
Yes,
you could spend $100 on a pair of shoes like that,
and $200 on a pair of jeans like that. No, so, very true, very true.
Yeah, if you're shopping at Walmart, you're probably not going to spend that much, but it depends on where you go.
So the Navy and civilian ship owners, if mariners did not possess both the Navy and merchant services, future purchase ship owners willing to sell clothers at a steep cost. The Navy and civilian ship owners deducted the cost of these clothings from wages, to the disadvantages of sailors often paying well beyond production costs and typical retail prices for these new garments at sea.
Because, for one, those guys probably weren't very good at math back then. For 2, they didn't have a choice. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
When they tell them, no, we're not. This is how much you're going to pay us. What are they going to say?
For this reason, sailors tried to purchase clothing and supplies on shore. Purchase stood as the last option for many mariners, some waiting as long as possible for purchasing the overpriced clothes. Sailors could also buy extra alcohol, food, and tobacco at sea against their wages. Some sailors purchased so many things that they fell into debt. Ship owners in New England often forced their mariners operating in the fishing industry off Newfoundland into debt servitude through the sale of clothing and supplies to their crews.
Because you spent that money, then you weren't getting a paycheck until they said you were done paying it off. You weren't getting paid.
And this is all
you're spending it up front. It's like it's like credit now. You can go spend $100 on a pair of pants and a shirt, but then you're not getting your paycheck for that amount, whatever the amount of time it takes to pay that $100 off.
Looking out for his.
And they would probably front you more money if
they did.
It.
Well, that's what it says. That's why they kept you
system, like a bank.
And that's how they kept you in quote-unquote servitude. That's how they kept their fare going. Some wealthier sailors expended money for the luxuries of pillowcases, sometimes referred to pillow beers. Oh, that's what that meant. BERES or BERS and bed sheets. The Navy sold bedding to their sailors as well. So that's bedding. I kind of skipped over that. For sailors and much of the lower class, clothing and bedding made up the vast majority of the possessions and wealth they owned. It was common for a sailor's total assets to be worth 10 pounds or less. So if 2 pounds is 400 times 5, that's 16. It's $2,000. Their total wealth, total assets is $2,000.
Yeah. That is dirt poor.
Okay, I want to get into not all sailors found themselves impoverished, probably. I'm trying to see if anything talking about, obviously, pirates also obtained their own weaponry. I don't see anything specifically talking about pirates so far, although we know from some of our history and what we found is that part of the treasure, the booty that they would recover from the ships is what was shared equally through the crew.
Yeah,
Clothing
depending
included.
on the one caveat to that is that if you were the one that found that stuff, like if you were the one that found it aboard the ship or were the one that recovered it, you got first choice.
Yeah, I've heard that
what
too.
you wanted and maybe double share, it depended on the ship you were on. So they would divide it up equally until that point.
Oh, wow. So apparently talking about sea chests. So sailors who owned more than one suit of clothes on their backs used canvas bags, sea chests in their pockets to store their private property when not in use. Which I did bring the market wallet for our setup. If a sailor only had a few possessions, a sailor likely kept his possessions in his pockets or inside hammocks when packed away. Mariners' pockets likely held some of the smaller possessions regardless of wealth, including their knives. Blah, 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 blah. As time progressed, Navy vessels encouraged sailors to use bags over sea chests. Chests took up more room and made it more difficult to clear ships for battle. The keeping a sea chest up on decks rather than down in the hold for the duration of voyages required a Navy to regulate the number of chests allowed on board. The captain regulated each mess of sailors to only 2 sea chests and had any additional ones stowed in and thrown out. The merchant service did not restrict sea chests like the Navy. Mariners with many valuable possessions, including trade goods, desired sea chests for the security, room, and protection they offered. Chests also doubled as benches and tables while at sea.
Sea bag, you can just cut that wide open and steal whatever you want.
Yep. Chests featured a simple design consisting of 6 boards. Some chests include a small till box just below the chest lid. Construction of these chests did not take long for veteran carpenters. Probate inventories tend to value used sea chests at a modest 3 or 4 shillings each. Wow. So if 20 shillings was 200, so 10 shillings would be 100. 2.5 would be like 25 bucks. So this is between 30 and 40 bucks is what they.
It's pretty good for a box.
Further suggesting simplicity and use of inexpensive materials in their construction. So that's interesting. Also very good information. Whoa! Dude, why'd you do that? So I think based on that, my pirate rail has some items about the typical colors that was in that time period. I don't know if I brought my cockade list of the colors in that time frame, but I could probably rewrite that easily and find it when we talk about the colors and the cockades. But cockades were more later 1700s versus the Roman piracy.
What we should do too is find those charts, those clothing charts things that I was showing you, like the ones that have the different hats and the different outfits for eras.
puffs.
There was a cockade one too, remember? That showed all the different styles of cockades.
It's not a bad idea. That'd be a good
And print them
display.
out and kind of make them, you know.
I won't. I don't have to print them out. I can make them. Make it 3D.
But I mean, I can make frames for them and we can use them as part of the display.
No, that's good.